Summary of Half the Sky by Kristof and Sheryl Wudunn. In Half the Sky, Kristof and WuDunn say that the mistreatment of women is the most important moral and economic problem of our time. They want to get people to do something about it. To prove their point, they lead the reader through heartbreaking stories of women being mistreated in Asia and Africa, as well as inspiring stories of women's success. They also deal with complicated questions about foreign help and suggest ways to solve the worldwide problem of unequal treatment of men and women. First, they talk about Sheryl Wudunn, a Cambodian girl who was sold into slavery in Thailand when she was 15 years old. She was raped until she agreed and was forced to work as a prostitute until she finally got away. The story of Sheryl Wudunn sets the tone for the rest of the book by showing that women are mistreated all over the world and that, even though her story is sad, it is very common. The writers keep looking at the problem of sexual slavery, which affects at least 3 million women and girls. After giving more examples of how slaveholders break young women through drug addiction, humiliation, and social shame for having sex before marriage, the writers answer the question, how can we help? Aid groups often overestimate their wins, which they admit, but there are ways to help. The best way to stop female slavery is to stop it from happening in the first place, and the best way to do that is to educate girls. They talk about a private school in Seattle that supports a new school in rural Cambodia. This project gave local girls more power and changed the way students in Seattle saw the world. The writers emphasize that there were problems with the project. For example, some girls would have had to work instead of going to school if they didn't get money. These stories show how Half the Sky goes from beginning to end. The writers show a problem that women all over the world face, then how people try to solve that problem, and they are honest about both the problems and the wins of those solutions. After giving more examples of slavery, Kristof and WuDunn talk about other ways women are abused, such as when rape is used to control women, when women who are ashamed to their family are killed, so-called honor killings, and when women's health problems are very bad. The stories in Half the Sky are often violent and sometimes gory, and they happen all over the world. The writers don't mean to lump all countries in the developing world together, but they do talk about problems that still exist in a lot of them. Because of this, they talk about a wide range of places. Cambodia, Thailand, India, Afghanistan, Senegal, and Congo are some of these countries. The writers also look into problems that make it harder to solve the problems above. Some of these problems are how the West doesn't understand Islamic cultures, how pro-choice and pro-life people in the US are at odds with each other, and how even the most well-meaning help efforts can run into complicated problems. Throughout the book, the authors give examples of how helping people can be hard and then show how it can be done successfully. This is the most important point the authors make. There are real solutions, and their examples can be copied elsewhere or made stronger with money or volunteer work. Some of these solutions are spending in girls' education, microfinance, and looking for answers that are based on facts rather than guesses. The authors say that grassroots efforts are the best way to solve issues of gender inequality. Most of Half the Sky follows a pattern in which chapters are split in half. The first part of each chapter tells a story to explain a key factor in women's oppression or a hurdle to reducing that factor. The second part of each chapter describes a good way to deal with that problem or obstacle. Half the Sky ends on a positive note, with the promise that each of us can help make gender equality a top world goal by giving time, money, or political support.
About the authors. Kristof grew up near the small town of Yam Hill, Oregon. He got his start in writing by running his high school newspaper. He went to Harvard University and then got a Rhodes Scholarship to go to Oxford University to study law. During those years, Kristof fell in love with traveling. He has now been to 140 countries and lived on 4 different continents. At age 25, he started working for the New York Times as a reporter in Beijing with his wife, Sheryl Wudunn. His opinion pieces for the Times are still a key way to bring attention to often ignored violations of human rights around the world. Over the course of his career, he has done dangerous work abroad. He made 11 trips to Sudan during the war in Darfur, when he was one of the first reporters to call it a slaughter. Jeffrey Toobin, a writer who went to Harvard with him, has said that he is the moral conscience of our generation of journalists. He won 2 Pulitzer Prizes and a lot of other prizes. Wudunn is a Chinese American of the 3rd generation. He grew up in Manhattan. She went to Cornell, then got her MBA from Harvard Business School and her MPA from Princeton University's Woodrow Wilson School. Wudunn's job has been varied and successful. She has worked for the Washington Post and the New York Times and has been a business leader at the Times, an evening news anchor, and a vice president at Goldman Sachs, among other things. She has spent a lot of her work focusing on women businesses and new markets in China and other parts of the developing world. In 2011, Newsweek put her on its list of women who shake the world. She is a lover of human rights, just like Kristof. She and her husband got a Pulitzer Prize for their coverage of the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests in China. Wudunn and Kristof have worked together to write 4 books.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.